Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. So again, hello everybody. Bruchim habayim. Super excited to learn with you in preparation for Shavuot. My kids know that I say this for every holiday, but this is truly my favorite holiday. And this is Shavuot. This is about Matan Toraten. It's about the Torah that we received with all its beauty, with all its infinite wisdom, with its
One of yours.
foresight into the future, to the days of Mashiach, and as well as revelation to the past, all the way from the creation of the world. This infinite Torah, which is what we're going to be celebrating during Shavuot, is something worth celebrating, very, very much so. And so I'd like to share with you a few ideas on what does it mean that we receive this Torah? What does this Torah mean for us? And specifically the Torah as an embodiment of mitzvot, of the 613 mitzvot that we received. And I'm going to share with you a concept where essentially Chazal, and I'm sure you've all been introduced to this in school, I'm hoping is familiar with. And that is that the Torah itself essentially could be divided, all the mitzvot could be divided into categories. If I could just remind everybody to put themselves on mute, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself anytime you have questions. It would be greatly appreciated. The entirety of the Torah's mitzvot could essentially be broken down into two categories. One category is the mitzvot, and chukim are mitzvot that we don't understand, while there are mitzvot that we consider mishpatim, and those mishpatim are things that we normally think that we can understand. So a perfect example of mishpatim, of mitzvot that we can understand rationally: don't murder, don't steal, etc. Honor your parents. Those kinds of mitzvot are mitzvot that we consider mishpatim. And then there are mitzvot that we consider chukim. Chukim, as we know them, are mitzvot that are a paradigm example of that would be para aduma. Para aduma, the red heifer, is considered a chok. We're going to see others as well. But essentially, those are the two categories of mitzvot. Mitzvot that are rational, that we can understand, and mitzvot that are considered chukim, mitzvot that we struggle to understand, let's put it mildly. So I'm going to give you a perspective on those two ideas as a way of Kabbalat Torah, because receiving the Torah, which is what we're doing in Shavuot, means receiving the entire package. We're receiving chukim as well as the mishpatim. I'm going to read with you this beautiful midrash here that I'm hoping that you can see well on your screen. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, I'm going to use my little, I don't know if you can see my scroll here, but Amar Rabbi Yeshua, I'm in the first paragraph. The Sichlin b'Shem Rabbi Levi, in the name of Rabbi Levi. Akol davar v'davar shaya omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe, omer lo tumato v'taharato. Everything that Hashem was transmitting to Moshe Rabbeinu, the 613 mitzvot in their entirety, beyond the 10 commandments that we heard spoken at Har Sinai, the 613 mitzvot with all of their details, the Torah shebichtav and Torah sheba'al peh, all of it was given to Moshe Rabbeinu, and to each one, Hashem was telling him, tumato v'tarato. In other words, he was telling him the pluses, the minuses, how you fix it, how it's the negative, the positives, all the elements, the details of the mitzvot. Kevan shegia leparshat Emor leKohanim, when Moshe Rabbeinu reached the parsha of Emor leKohanim, which discusses the purity of the priests, how a priest is not allowed to become impure to dead bodies. Amar lo Moshe ribono shel olam, mitna zeh b'ma taharato. Third line. And Moshe Rabbeinu asks Kadosh Baruch Hu a very simple question. He says to him, Hashem, I don't understand. I understand that you're telling me that a person who is a Kohen, a priest, is not allowed to become impure. But if he did, let's say he was in a room and a guy got a heart attack and dropped dead. In order to serve in the Beit HaMikdash, that person needs to become purified again. B'ma tiyeh taharato. How does this person become tahor? And lo yeshiva. The third line again, Hashem does not respond to Moshe Rabbeinu. Be'ota sha'a, at that moment, Moshe Rabbeinu reacts the same way every student reacts when a teacher doesn't answer their question right away. Nitkalkemu panav shel Moshe. His face became sour. He was a little taken off by it. He was put off by it. Why isn't Hashem answering my question? I need to know the details of this halakha. I get it that a priest is ideally not allowed to become impure. But if he does become impure, how does he purify himself? How does he fix it? A few days later, a few weeks later, it doesn't make a difference how long the time period. When Hashem was now teaching Moshe Rabbeinu about para aduma, about the red heifer, Hashem himself reminds Moshe Rabbeinu, the quintessential teacher, reminds Moshe Rabbeinu, the quintessential Tamid Chacham student, remember the question you asked me back when about a Kohen that becomes impure, what does he need to do in order to fix it? You remember that question you asked me and I didn't answer you? Zot taharato. Now you understand the answer. And with that, we finish the first paragraph. What is the way in which a Kohen becomes purified? Through the ashes of the red heifer. So let's stop for a minute and reflect on this first paragraph. Summarize what's going on here. Rabbi Yeshua is describing to us, so to speak, a conversation that's happening in heaven, the 40 days and 40 nights between God and Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is being taught the halakha that priests are not allowed to become impure. Moshe Rabbeinu asks an excellent question. As they would say in Yeshiva, he asks an unbelievable question. He asks God, but what if the Kohen becomes impure? How does he become purified? God does not answer him. Moshe Rabbeinu's knee-jerk reaction, so to speak, is that he was taken off by it. Why isn't he answering me? Weeks later, days later, hours later, whatever the situation is, Hashem says to him, remember that halakha that you asked me about? This is the solution to it. The solution is the red heifer, the ashes, and the water that's mixed, that's sprinkled on the person. That's how the person is purified. What's amazing in this first paragraph is we're being taught a very important lesson as far as how we relate to information in the Torah that we do not understand. First and foremost, the ingredient that's necessary is a character ingredient, not an intellectual one. You see, we think that to understand information, the most important thing that we need is information. We think that in order to understand something or the reason or the logic behind something, what we need is knowledge, and what we're missing is a piece of the puzzle, which is informational and cerebral. What this first paragraph is teaching us is that oftentimes what's missing is character. And the most important character trait as a student is sometimes patience. You're learning step 1, you can't understand step 10 and step 50 at the exact same time. A teacher oftentimes does not answer a student simply because either the student is not ready for that answer, does not have the tools to understand that answer, or maybe the teacher is waiting for that opportune moment where the answer could be understood in its entirety. Patience is the first ingredient that we're being taught in this first paragraph. And Hashem needed to teach even Moshe Rabbeinu that message. He could have answered him right away and said, the red heifer is what purifies the Kohen who becomes impure. But Hashem specifically chooses to not answer him, wait to its rightful moment. And this message of patience is essentially going to frame for us the message that's going to continue throughout the Midrash. Pay attention to this. We're on the second paragraph. Rabbi Yeshua Desechnin b'Shem Rabbi Levi Amar. Arba'a devarim yetzer hara. There are 4 things that the yetzer hara mashiv alehem, that the yetzer hara uses in order to instigate us to betray the Torah and to belittle the Torah and to think little of it. What are the 4 things that the Yetzer Hara uses? Dichtiv bahen chuka. These are 4 things that the Torah itself dictates to you is a chok. A chok, as we said, is something that we cannot completely understand. The Yetzer Hara knows that these are chukim. He knows these are things that are hard to understand. And therefore, he uses them to try to instigate us to betray the Torah. And through them say, this whole book is a bunch of nonsense. What are the 4 things? Eshet ach, the prohibition for a person to be with their sister-in-law. One of the adulterous relationships in the Torah is a sister-in-law. You're not allowed to be with your sister-in-law. Once your brother marries that woman, you're not allowed to be with her. And the irony of that law, or the perplexing element of that law is that while my sister-in-law is considered an adulterous behavior for me, I am given a mitzvah, a specific, unique opportunity to marry her if a person's brother dies without children. There's something called yibum. So how could it be that the very same person that's completely prohibited for me becomes elevated to a mitzvah? That this person is now somebody that I have a wonderful deed that I can do by keeping my brother's name alive by marrying her? Why? If they have one child together, for example, even if that brother dies, you're never allowed to marry her. So how could it be? It seems contradictory. It's so mind-boggling because it seems contradictory. On the other hand, my sister-in-law is prohibited to me. On the other hand, my sister-in-law is a mitzvah to me. That's mind-boggling. The second example is klayim. You're not allowed to mix wool and linen together. Why wool and linen? Why not wool and cotton, or linen and flax, or cotton and flax? Why specifically those? But what's even more perplexing about it is that klayim, the mitzvah that I'm not allowed to mix wool and linen, when it comes to tzitzit, when it comes to the holy garment of talit or tzitzit, I am now allowed to do it. So the holiest beged that I have is made with klayim, yet I cannot wear klayim. Again, contradictory. Something that doesn't sit well with the mind. Seir hamishtalech, the third example that the Yetzer Hara tries to use to instigate us to betray the Torah, another chok, another mitzvah that doesn't make sense, is the Seir hamishtalech. Seir hamishtalech is, as we know on Yom Kippur, there's Seir la'Azazel and Seir la'Hashem. The Seir la'Hashem, the two identical goats, the Seir la'Hashem makes total sense. It fits right in there with all the other sacrifices that we give 365 days of the year. It's a sacrifice that's slaughtered by the altar in the Beit HaMikdash, conforming to all the laws of sacrificial service. The Seir Mishtaleach, on the other hand, the goat that's kicked off of the cliff, that makes no sense. It goes against every law of sacrifices that we know. It's not slaughtered. It's not done in the Beit HaMikdash. It almost even seems as if it's being offered to some strange force, as opposed to God even. It almost even seems that way. And so the Yetzer Hara uses that as an example to, again, instantly say, maybe there's contradictions in the Torah. It does not make sense. It's a chok. It's something that's meant to be. The Torah already dictates to you, this is not going to make sense to you. And the last example is para aduma, the red heifer. The classic example of a chok, of a mitzvah that the Torah dictates as being something that doesn't make sense to us. What is so senseless about para aduma? It's simple. Let's say you have Ruvain becomes impure. Ruvain is in the hospital, he's by the side of his friend, and his friend dies in front of him. This person is now impure. Comes Pesach, comes one of the holidays, and he wants to go to the Beit HaMikdash. He's not allowed to come to the Beit HaMikdash if he's impure. So he has to become purified. So he comes to the Kohen, calls up his Kohen. He says to him, hey, David Cohen, how are you? He's like, good, how are you? He says, listen, I became impure and I anticipate needing to come to the Beit HaMikdash. Can you help me become purified? The Kohen looks at his calendar, at his planner, says, come at 8 o'clock Thursday on this day, come and I'll help you become purified. What does he need to do? He needs to come there. One of the things that happens in the process, not to go into details, is he's sprinkled with the ashes and water mixed in for the red heifer. What's mind-boggling about it is that these very ingredients which are going to take Reuven and purify him, these exact same ingredients, the Kohen who handles those ingredients becomes unpure. How could it be that the very same ashes and water that I sprinkle on you makes you pure and makes me unpure? How does that make sense? So again, every one of these examples that Rabbi Yeshua is bringing to forewarn us that the Yetzer Hara is going to use them against us is specifically things that not only do they not make sense as far as me trying to find a reason or rationality for them, they even seem to contradict. I'm going to skip the remainder of the second paragraph because I essentially explained to you everything that paragraph says. And we're going to move on to the third paragraph. Vaikhu elecha para aduma. Amar Rabbi Yosua bar Chanina, Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe, lecha ani migale tam para. Moshe Rabbeinu says, God, to you I'm going to reveal the reason and the rationality behind the para aduma, behind the red heifer. The thing itself, that's a chok. Shlomo HaMelech, as the Midrash tells us and the Pesukim tell us, Shlomo HaMelech himself was not able to understand the reason. The wisest of all men was not able to understand the reason of para aduma. But the Midrash tells us that we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was given the reason for para aduma. What's interesting, and I'm going to skip down to the last two lines of this paragraph. Ela dvarim asitim v'lo zoftim e'esen kitiv kan ela asitim shekvar asiti l'Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav dvarim shelo niglu l'Moshe niglu l'Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav. Now, at the end of the paragraph, the Midrash is telling us that there are things that were not revealed to Moshe, but yet the reasons for them or the insight into them was revealed later on to Rabbi Akiva. So what we see here is exactly that same message that the Medrash opens up with. Patience. Just because you don't know the reason doesn't mean that one day the reason will not be revealed to you. The nature of a chok is not that it does not have a reason, as we're going to see in a moment, but rather that it's not a reason that's necessarily accessible to everyone, and maybe not even immediately. There are things that one could understand the reason. The Torah writes for reasons, but if you don't have the building blocks, you won't actually understand what that reason or the significance of that reason is. There are things that God is in control of that knowledge, and he chooses in which generation these things should be revealed to us. Sometimes they are revealed to us through our sages, through people like Rabbi Akiva, maybe Shlomo HaMelech, maybe Reb Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar, who knows the Baal Shem Tov, Rav Kook, who knows great people that we've had throughout generations, each one, the Rambam, figuring out the reason for this mitzvah and figuring out the reason for that mitzvah and so on and so forth. Each one at its time. Sometimes it's even science that helps us discover the reasons for certain things. Certain things like, for example, when it comes to certain things like, for example, why does the Torah ask us to salt meat? Back in the day, 500 years ago, nobody could explain to you why the Torah asks us to salt our meat. Today, we understand and know that the first thing that spoils in meat, scientifically, the first thing that spoils in meat is the blood. In the blood is where it carries most of the bacteria and so on and so forth. Especially throughout the ages when we didn't have refrigerators, the salt also helped to preserve the meat and so on and so forth. So you can imagine, for hundreds and hundreds of years, people couldn't necessarily figure out what is the rationality for us to salt the meat and then wash it off and to remove this blood. What's wrong with this blood? Blood is used in cuisine. It's tasteful. It's amazing. Right? And so on and so forth. There are many things that the world of science eventually reveals to us what the reason for it is. There are many things like the Big Bang Theory, right? For thousands of years, the world of science essentially agreed that the world always existed. We live now in a world where the world of science and physics and everything that we know points in the direction that there clearly was a beginning of time. There was a moment of Bereshit, of beginning. So again, there are things that are revealed to us at time. We need patience. When it comes to the learning, and especially when it comes to the learning of the divine Torah, we are not dealing with ABCs. We're dealing with things that are ABCs and all the way to the most infinite complex ideas that we can possibly imagine. And that's one of the ways that we relate to Chukim. I'm going to share with you a Rambam and a Ramban that are also fundamental blocks to try to relate to how we deal with Chukim and Mishpatim, laws that seem logical to us and laws that don't seem logical to us in the Torah. First of all, when it comes to overall, the 613 mitzvot, what is their reason, or let me use the right word, purpose? The purpose of all mitzvot, says the Rambam, is, and I underlined it, tikkun ha-nefesh v'tikkun ha-guf. You see, tikkun ha-olam is actually not very descriptive. It's a very undescriptive phrase that's really more of like a modern kind of phrase. Traditionally, we refer to it as tikkun ha-nefesh and tikkun ha-guf. Tikkun ha-nefesh means to help the soul which includes intellect, emotions, psychology, all the things that are non-tangible reality. Tikkun, to fix it, to make it shalem, to make it harmonious, to make it pure and perfect. Tikkun ha-guf is to help and make harmonious and a healthy body. Body means physical things, whether it's the world, the physical world at large around us, the environment, our social environment, our where we live, the society that we function in, my own physical body, quite literally my individualistic body. The purpose of all mitzvot is to help us perfect our nefesh, perfect our intellect, our emotions, our psychology, as well as tikkun haguf, to help us perfect our bodies, our physical well-being. Those are the two goals of all mitzvot. The irony is that the Rambam tells us the priority is tikkun haguf, but the most important of the two is tikkun hanefesh. Without a healthy body, without a world that functions normally, and without chaos and anarchy and so on and so forth, you cannot have the freedom to do what you need to do in order to have tikkun hanefesh. So, for example, if somebody is sick and ill in bed, they can't learn Torah, they can't get up to daven, they can't do chesed, they can't do a lot of mitzvot that they would normally want to. As society is at whole, if let's say you're at war, or let's say it's Corona, right? This prevents us, this physical illness that's around us is preventing us from reaching tikkun hanefesh in its purest way. Schools aren't able to function in the way that they're normally supposed to. Our shuls are not there to function in the way that they're normally supposed to. It doesn't prevent us, but it certainly refrains us and certainly puts us at a handicap from being able to accomplish that. And I'm going to read for you over here the last line in the Rambam, right before source number 3. HaTorah ha'amitit asher be'anu shi'achat v'she'en zulata v'hi Torat Moshe Rabbeinu. This Torah, there's only one Torah, this true Torah, divine Torah that we received through Moshe Rabbeinu, omnam ba letanu shtei hashlemiyot yachad. Its purpose is to give us, to serve to us on a platter, these two perfections. All the mitzvot are designed to help us reach shlemut hanefesh and shlemut haguf. And here's the Rambam, source number 3, that summarizes for us one more idea that we have to attach to this. Kol ha-mitzvot imken yesh lahem etzlam siba. Therefore, by all means, of course, every mitzvah has a reason. Next line that I underlined for you in source 3, Vehem asher toratam uvoret etzel hamon yiku mishpatim, ve'elu she'en toratam uvoret etzel hamon yikrou chokim. Those mitzvot which are not known to everyone are called chukim. Those mitzvot which majority of people can comprehend are called mishpatim. The Rambam does not define chok the way we learned it in elementary school. Mitzvot that have no reason. They have a reason. They of course have a purpose. If nothing else, somehow in some way, maybe I don't understand yet how, but it's there for tikkun hanefesh and tikkun haguf. We know that the entire Torah is leman yitav lecha. All the mitzvot that Hashem gave us is for our benefit, and our benefit means physically and spiritually. Mishpatim are mitzvot that even the common person can understand, that you shouldn't murder, that you shouldn't steal. But not everybody is able to understand the chukim. Moshe Rabbeinu maybe understood some, others understood others. Maybe for many generations we didn't understand some things, and then science and different revelations helped us understand them. That's the difference between chok and mishpat. I'm going to summarize for you the last two sources without reading inside. The Ramban points out to us another very important thing, and that is that the purpose and the reason for all mitzvot, as the Rambam told us, is for tikkun hanefesh and tikkun haguf, to help us perfect our physical well-being as well as our spiritual well-being. And the Ramban makes sure to point out, so the Ramban, Nachmanides at this point, says to us, you must know that one thing's for sure, none of the 613 mitzvot are for God. God doesn't need us, so to speak, to do any of the mitzvot. Every one of the mitzvot is for our to'elet. The to'elet, the benefit and the purpose of mitzvot is not for Hashem. It's for us, ourselves, to prevent from us either a physical damage or to prevent from us an emotional, mental, psychological, theological damage and its ramifications, for us to be well in every single realm. And they gave us a perfect formula. 613, not 12, not 14 mitzvot. With their details to the minutiae, to the most granular details, it was given to us. This perfect formula of tikkun nefesh and tikkun guf. Not too much of something, not too little of something. The perfect combination of how one should relate to themselves, how one should relate to society, how one should relate to the environment and creation, how one should relate to the Almighty. That perfect combination, that harmony, is what allows us to have tikkun nefesh and tikkun guf. The Or Gedaliyahu in source number 5 that I have here, and with this gives us the last few minutes of the class, says as follows. Because we're dealing with mitzvot, 613 mitzvot that belong to one Torah, these are not 613 things that are compartmentalized, each one in their own box. It's very much so like our body. Your cells in your eye, or your cells in your tongue, or your cells in your kidney, or your cells in your toes, have in them the DNA for your entire body. Even though it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, so to speak, right? The cells of your eye should have only the information that it needs to create an eye. There's no reason why in your eye I should be able to find information about everything else in your body. But that's because we belong to one body. So even though my eye is specifically an eye, but it has something in common with the rest of my body, which is that DNA makeup. Says the Or Gedaliyahu, a very similar idea when it comes to mitzvot. Tefillin might be a particular and unique mitzvah. It's tefillin. Shabbat might be a particular unique mitzvah. It's Shabbat. Every mitzvah might be its own particular mitzvah. Lulav, etrog, and so on and so forth. But every mitzvah belonging to one Torah also has the DNA of the entire Torah in it. Says the Or Gedaliyahu, you have to know that within every mitzvah there's a chok. Just like there are chukim, that means that chok is also a part in every other mitzvah. Even the most rational mitzvah that we know. Even if I unveil to you 50 reasons for a specific mitzvah, there's always going to be a component to it that's unknown. And that's because we're dealing with the divine Torah. Rabot machshavot belevish, as much as we can think, as much as we can contemplate. When you're dealing with something that's given to us from a divine source, with infinite wisdom, it is literally impossible to unveil in one shot, certainly, and in one sitting, and even in one generation or many generations, all the reasons for all the mitzvot. But what we do know is, lema'an yitav lach, as David HaMelech says, ta'amu uru kitov Hashem. Just taste it, and you'll end up seeing that maybe you don't understand it, but the proof will be in the pudding. If you practice Torah, you will realize immediately its effect is tikkun nefesh and tikkun guf. It helps you perfect yourself, both physically and spiritually, and that in and of itself is how we understand and know that every mitzvah clearly has a purpose and a reason, and it's not for Hashem, but it's for our own well-being and our own benefit. What a better way to celebrate Shavuot than for us to get together at 7:39 p.m. and learn Torah together. One of the things I will say, that to quote my Rebbe, who actually spoke about it today, I thought it was kind of funny. One of the things that Corona has proven to us is that even if you don't serve food or chocolate chip cookies at Ramaz, people still come to learn Torah. It shows that we actually don't care about the food as much as we care about learning. Ta'amuru kitov Hashem. Better flavor than any food in the world is the 613 mitzvot that are given to us by Hashem, and His infinite wisdom, what we've been carrying around in our hands for 3,300 years. That's our greatest prize. I'm going to open up for a question or two. If anybody has a question right now, feel free to unmute yourselves. Let me stop sharing here for a moment. Let's see who's here. Leil, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm here, Rabbi.
Fantastic. Okay, I wanted to make sure I...
Yes.
I'm still preaching to live humans here.
Yes, you're still preaching.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Ackerman. How are you? Hello, Miss Adelsberg. How are you? Baruch Hashem, Ms. Taub. Nice to see you as usual. Hello.